Welcome to Purple Shirted Nerd Math Apps. We're going to take a look at a very straightforward app. Does exactly what you would want it to do. We're going to take a look at our trigonometry calculator to find some trigonometry values. So here we go. You have an option of let's just approach this exactly as it appears right now. We'll go ahead and enter an angle in degrees, and we'll enter something that you might be familiar with. So how about a 150 degree angle, and go ahead and clear that or calculate this guy. And there are expected value. The nice thing about this versus a calculator is you get to see all 6 trig values, or whichever one you want at any given time. Additionally, there's a little bit more work to do on most calculators if you want to find cosecant, secant, and cotangent for whatever reason. Okay, so let's clear this out and see as an option, we can go to radians, and right now it is in the times pi mode. If I click on that times pi, it just leaves me a button there, and now we're in plain old radians. Let's go back to times pi, and let's again enter one that you may be familiar with, so you're comfortable that this is in fact giving us values that we would expect. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter, let's go ahead and enter 0.66666. So we're pretty well at 2/3 pi here, and we calculate this, and it might draw your attention to that cosine value pretty close to -0.5, which would be cosine of 2/3 pi. We just haven't quite put in 2/3 pi, so it's allowing for that rounding. So again, all 6 trig functions available for you. Let's take a look at the option with pi, the times pi turned off. So let's go ahead and enter a radian measure of 1.7, which would put us somewhere in the second quadrant. And we calculate this. And there we go. If you notice the sign very close to 1, that's because we're pretty close to 90 degrees right in here, and we've just moved into the second quadrant. So very useful. You will notice at the bottom of this as well, we have inverse functions. If I go to an inverse function screen, of course I'm entering a ratio to get either a degree measure or a radian measure. Let's go ahead and enter as a ratio, let's enter negative, I'll try that again. Let's just enter 0.5. Then we'll come back and enter a negative value. So we should be, if you're familiar with your trigonometry, this should be a typical trig problem where we need to find the angle measure, and of course the sine of 30 degrees is 0.5, cosine of or the cosine of 60 degrees is 0.5, etc. You'll notice we have some error messages here down in our cosecant and secant graph, and of course we know that cosecant and secant, the ratios returned from those trig functions have to be between, or have to be above 1, 1 and above, -1 and below. So let's go ahead and throw a value in there that will work for those. So for instance, let's go -2. Done. Calculate. And now, of course, the sine and cosine give us error messages, which they should. Okay, this as well will give us values in radians. Right now it's returning values in degrees, so we click on the degree button, the degrees button, and convert that to radians. And let's go ahead and we'll go to perhaps, let's change that to maybe 0.27 for whatever reason. And when we calculate this, we instantly get our solution. And once again, cosecant, secant, those should be errors. That's certainly not a bug. And so this very, very simple, basic trigonometry inverses, I like it more than going to my calculator because I don't have to do any extra work for cosecant, secants. Everything's right there. I don't have to shift out of modes into radians by going to an additional screen. Very visual, very, very quick and handy. So hope you enjoy it. Please stay tuned at www.psnmathapps.com. We've got a lot of apps coming out for you, and appreciate you viewing.